So you have decided that you want to be part of a speech competition in public speaking. Well, good for you. I have competed on many occasions over the last decade, and I just wanted to take some time today in this session to share some of my experience. So let's get right to it. So why bother competing? That's always a good question, and it is a little bit of soul searching involved when you enter speech competition. I can only share with you an experience I had as a young fellow, as a teenager, learning how to sail boats. My father threw me into a sailing school, and I was really quite perplexed by that experience initially because the first day that I was at the sailing school, they threw us into a boat and they made us race against each other. And I would spend each summer, year after year, for about 4 or 5 years, racing boats. And I was really not sure why we were always racing. But the answer is that when you are dealing with a competitive environment, you are working on every little detail. You're doing everything in your power to get maximum efficiency of the boat. And really, speech competition serves this same purpose. It's not for everybody. Only about 10%, 20% of individuals that are in the public speaking spectrum have any interest in entering competitions. And the competitions are sponsored by many different organizations, but they all have a certain commonality. And I'm going to speak to some of those issues today. There's no question that when you get involved in competitive public speaking, it accelerates your skills. It forces you as a speaker to examine the dynamics between you and your audience and what you are doing right and what you shouldn't be doing. Because it's all about winning in this environment. Now, I just want to spend a moment on that because some people aren't in that mind frame. I'm really not a competitive person. I don't want to beat others. Fair enough. This may not be for you. But if you do enter competition, remember there's only one objective. You have to take on and put on that hat. You are there to win. You're not there to be in second place. Because there may be a prize for second place, a little certificate, but that really isn't winning the competition. It's all about winning. You have to take on that attitude when you enter competition. You are on your own. It's all about you and your own self-drive and self-interest. And all I can say with you is, and this is from bitter firsthand experience, and I only really woke up to this aspect of being a competitor till about the 6th, 7th year of competition that I was involved in. You have to be assertive. Now, when I say assertive, I'm not talking about being aggressive. I'm not talking about that at all. But I am talking about speaking up for yourself and standing for yourself and being assertive. You are there to compete. And any competitor, if there's a race of individuals on a sprint, if the starting blocks aren't correct, they're pointing it out. They want the blocks the same as everybody else. That's being assertive. That's part of being a competitor. And you have to wear that as soon as you enter competition. Use your own judgment. You may get a lot of feedback from others, but in the end, it really comes down to your judgment. And I've felt the emotions of getting too much feedback. It got to the point where I started to question what I was doing in the first place. So you have to make your own decisions and you have to use your own best judgment as you enter this sphere as a competitor. Certainly take input from others, but in the bottom line, it's your judgment that prevails. Remember that anything can happen in the moment of competition. You can win because others have made terrible mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you can win because of that. Things that happen during competition, the conditions of competition are unique to each competition. And just because you won a competition last year does not mean you're going to win a competition this year. Just because you didn't win last year doesn't mean you can't win this year. It's all about the moment of the competition. You need to educate yourself to all the rules of the competition. You need to become an expert. You need to know more than the chief judge. You need to have a copy of the judging evaluating form. You need to tailor your speech to what the criteria is of the evaluation form that the judges are using. This is your responsibility, no one else's. Fully understand the conditions of the competitive environment. Is it a specific stage? Is it well lit? Are you going to be using microphones? Ask a lot of questions. Be tireless, be relentless with the questions that you ask. Don't let people put you off. Oh, we'll talk about that later. No, I want to know now. You need to be assertive. You need to know your speech. Inside out, backwards, forward, upside down. If you use notes, you lose. I have this little saying. Take control of your environment. Ask a lot of questions. Will the competitors be wearing headset or lavalier microphones? Will you be on a stage? What height? Are there stairs? Where are the stairs? Where will the competitors be seated? Will the event be recorded? As a contestant, you will be measured on how dynamic you are as a communicator. If you're distracted by things like the lighting on the stage, it's not going to bring out your best performance. You need to remember that the conditions of competition will also change with the size of the audience that you're speaking to. Humor will change. You may have the same humor in your presentation, and it will get a completely different response with an audience of 5, an audience of 20, an audience of 100, an audience of 300. Have to practice in front of each of those size of audiences to the best of your ability. Competition at the first level, you can expect to be in front of an audience of about 20. Competition at the second level, it'll be stepped up and it'll be much larger, probably 40 to 60. The larger the audience and the more you need to allow for some time for audience reaction. So if your presentation must be done in 7 minutes, 30 seconds, time it carefully for 7 minutes, leaving yourself 30 seconds for audience reaction that will burn some time. Strategic issues like the title of your speech can be a full introduction if you cleverly set a title that explains everything you're about to do. That gives you more time to talk about what you want to talk about and will score points with the judges. When you're at a third level of competition, you can expect a much larger audience, probably 80 participants. You're going to have peripheral to peripheral vision. I suggest strongly that you get on the stage well before the competition, maybe early in the morning. Stand on the stage and feel the room. Get to know the room. Understand the room. Talk to the room. And so that when you come up to the stage at the time of your competition, the room is your friend, not a stranger, not a shock when you look out and you see people peripheral vision to peripheral vision. Understand that there's lots of choices that you'll have to make. When you deal with a raised stage, sometimes there are creaks. Sometimes they're difficult to navigate in terms of stairs. Sometimes you're required to wear wireless microphones. Now you get into all kinds of strategic issues about your clothing and their suitability and the type of equipment that you're going to be using. Test the stage, get a feel for the room, test the microphone that's offered. If there's a sound check, be there for the sound check. And don't just do, oh, 1, 2, 3, I'm done. No. Take as much time as you can, walk the entire stage, discover the stage, because sometimes there's built-in speakers, especially in hotel rooms, in the ceiling. And if you have a lapel mic, it can line up with those speakers, creating an echo and a terrible cascading sound that distracts from your audience. Learn where those hot spots are. If you're going to be using a wireless microphone, you have to think, am I going to be using a handheld? I would strongly suggest a headset Lavaliers have their own challenge, those little lapel mics, but if that's what you're being offered, that's a condition of the contest, well, fair enough. But I prefer a headset. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Partially of which you're in control of your environment. So if you have the headset on and you hear a popping sound, you can move the microphone away while on the fly doing your presentation. Lapels have a problem that sometimes the clothing you're wearing, the rustling of it is picked up at the mic, very distracting. Ask if there's a backup mic in case your equipment fails, the equipment that you've been given, which happens in competition. If there's a built-in backup mic ready to go and no one's thought about it and you've asked for it and it's on the stage, it's available to everyone. If your microphone goes bad, you can grab it and just carry on as if nothing happened. So ask for it and insist, well, why isn't there a backup mic? Be assertive. I'll tell you one funny story. I was horrified with one speech competition I was in. I didn't like the way the stage was set up and where it was located. And I asked about it. Oh, no, you can't change the, it's all set. You can't change a single thing. So, okay, fine. When the competitor's briefing arrived, and I stood up and asked about the stage. Oh, no, it can't be changed. The conditions of the competition are set. And once the leaders of the meeting left, every other competitor came up to me. What are you talking about with the stage? I said, have you seen the stage? Let's go and take a look, shall we? So I took all my fellow competitors over, and they were horrified, just like I was, with where the stage was done. And I watched in great amusement while they disassembled it themselves, reset it, and that became the stage for the competition. Very funny, very funny. But it just goes to show how important it is for you to be assertive. And I'm not saying you take advantage of anything, but you're there to make sure that you're equal to everyone else in terms of your positioning and the conditions that you're working under. When you're using a wireless mic, remember there's a transmitter, which usually you have to wear, and a receiver. Make sure there's good line of sight with that so you don't have it going away during the middle of your speech with a pause because someone walked in front of the receiver. Remember that wireless mics use RF frequency, which are interfered with by water. Human beings are more than 50% water, so someone walking through your line of sight will cause trouble with your equipment. You're using a wireless mic, especially if it's a headset or it's a lapel, you're going to have to place the receiver somewhere. So that is strategic decisions with your clothing. Fellows have a better time because they have things called pockets where you can stick them. But remember, if you stick it in your pocket, there's going to be a wire that comes up somewhere. It can be underneath your shirt. And then if you have a headset, okay, that's good. You're ready to go. If it's a lapel, probably in the middle of your tie. Others will be forced to consider their clothing options, and there's nothing wrong with having rather than a blouse with a jacket. That allows you a strategy to locate your transmitter in. Here's the example of what I'm talking about. So, this is a jacket. It's got a pocket. The pocket has the transmitter, and there's a wire that comes inside and is on the lapel mic. That's fine. If you have a lapel mic, remember, you cannot move your head. You have to move your shoulders. Because if you move your head, you move away from the lapel mic. So wardrobe strategies are very, very important for the competitor. Practice on the stage provided. Use all parts of the stage. Allow your audience to get to know you during your presentation. Phase your speech for different phases of the stage. Check for squeaky boards. Look for hot spots. And when you're dealing with the stage in front of an audience, you got to deal with large expressive motions with your body. If you are dealing with a camera in a camera set competitive environment, now you are in frame and you have to work hard to bring your hands up if you want to bring hand gestures into your public speech. In any competition, there's a series of individuals that do different jobs. Contest chair basically is the master of ceremonies. Chief judge accepts protests, collects the information, or makes the final determination, and keeps that information confidential and gives it to the chair. Of course, there are the competitors. Competitors and judges can file protests. Lots of different reasons for protests. Originality is the key one. So if you're in your presentation talking about and quoting a source, identify your source carefully and make sure it's not more than 25% of the content of your overall presentation. There are people called the sergeant at arms. They basically are in charge of ushering people in and out of the room during the competition. There will be a judging panel. Hopefully it's an odd number of judges, hopefully. And then usually there's a secret tiebreaker judge, there should be, to help to create a circumstance where they break a tie. And it's remarkable how many times there are ties. If you have a timer, there should be 2 timers, and each timer should have their own equipment. And if there's written ballots for the judges, then the people collect the ballots and counting the ballots and tallying the ballots. There are the ballot counters. Those are basically all the people that have little jobs to do during the speech competition. If you're working with cameras for a competition, it is all about the lighting. More lighting is better, not less, more. And if you observe bad lighting, bring in lighting. Everyone will have the same condition, but it is essential that you have bright lighting. Bright lighting is the single most important factor for getting you seen on screen. I have extraordinarily bright lighting here, and there are still shadows. I could use more lighting in this room, ideally. Step up projection of your voice. Step it up. Don't speak softly. Step it up, because your voice is being recorded over a distance. Remember that your audience members, the judges, can turn down the volume, but if there's not enough volume, they can't really turn it up. So do not speak with a passive, quiet voice when you're dealing with the camera. And minimize moving around in the stage with a camera. It's all about staying in frame. Use your hands for those gestures. Your facial expressions are critical in this type of competition. If you found this session helpful, please feel free to click the like button. I don't plan to do more, but if there is other material I can cover. If you found this session helpful and you want to see more of them made up, please put comments in my comments box, ask questions, and if I see enough interest, I'm more than happy to do some more workshops. Maybe I can demonstrate how to use a lavalier mic. Maybe I can demonstrate, maybe how to set up the competition room with a backdrop and where to place the camera and lighting and all that kind of stuff. I can do more if you're interested. If you certainly want to see that and would like to be notified when that happens, please press the subscribe button for this channel and the notification button so that you're offered. But having said that, congratulations taking on the job of being a competitor. It is a mixed experience, but you will, I guarantee it, you will grow and prosper as a communicator from the experience. And your growth will be accelerated by moving into the world of speech competition.